started, should be learnt from Microsoft. So Zoom has made it so simple to share a screen, to record. Everything is a very superb interface, and Microsoft doesn't like that, I think. Okay. Let's chant the prayers. Something irritating it has to do. जय राधा माधव, जय कुंज बिहारी, जय राधा माधव, जय कुंज बिहारी, जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी, जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी, यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन, यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन, यमुना तीरावनचारी, यमुना तीरावनचारी, जय राधा माधव, जय कुंज बिहारी, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, जय राधा श्याम सुंदर राधे, जय कृष्ण बलराम, जय कृष्ण बलराम, जय गौरानिताई, जय गौरानिताई, जय जय प्रभुपाद, जय श्रील प्रभुपाद। हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितां तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते, गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी, वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमां विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन् इति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. So, anybody remembers what we did so far? Oh, wow. So many have joined. Nice.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare
Dandavat
Krishna,
Pranam.
Prabhu. Nice to see you. I was just wondering, meaning whether you're back from Sridham Mayapur or not, but nice to see you.
Yeah, thank you,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna.
We were back on Wednesday. I came Wednesday night.
Yeah, yeah. So, anybody remembers what we did last week? Last week? Dub.
That was an open discussion on any doubts, and that was a bigger discussion, right?
Okay, so let me ask last week. So, in the previous Bhagavad Gita class, okay, in general, what do you remember? What have we covered so far? Okay, in the second chapter only, let's not go too far behind. In the second chapter, what have we done so far? What has happened? Key events, if you can tell. Anybody? It's
I,
on. Okay,
Yes,
please.
Prabhu.
yeah, it's basically now Krishna has started talking to Arjuna and telling him about the soul, and it is completely indestructible, and also you should not feel bad or feel sad because life, the soul takes on another life and another journey, and yeah, that's from a very high level that I can
And,
recollect.
and why is he explaining about the soul to him?
Uh,
What's the context?
I,
No. Okay. Arjun asks a question, right? Arjun asks how many questions in the first chapter? I think you are six in the meeting, right? Six or seven. Six, huh? Siddharth Prabhu, well, welcome back. Good to see you back. So, anybody remembers how many questions were asked in the first chapter? How many questions in the second chapter? What were the questions? No? Okay. So, these questions are fundamental to Bhagavad Gita. Okay. It is very important to understand these questions because these are the questions that will come up when you try to find solutions to your problems via Bhagavad Gita. These questions will pop up regularly. So first question that Arjun asked was compassion, not question, I would say argument. So he thinks that he doesn't want to fight, and he feels that Krishna is forcing him to fight, so he is resisting. And in terms of his resistance, he is putting forward few arguments why he thinks he should not fight. So the first question argument was compassion towards the relatives, the friends, and so many others. So you can summarize that as compassion towards the material body. Then the second question was one level higher, saying he is saying, okay, fine, I do not want to kill, but I'm being forced to kill, but I should get some benefit out of it. He is saying, I don't see any benefit. I do not see any enjoyment. It's completely loss of enjoyment for me. So that is his second argument. The third argument goes even one level higher than the second one. It says that I forget enjoyment. I'm going to incur sinful reactions. So, meaning You can think of it. You do not want to do a certain thing, you're forced to do that, then there is no benefit to you. Although you are being forced by someone to do it, there is no benefit you are going to get. On top of that, when all the loss will be attributed to you. So this is a completely lose-lose situation, right? And then the fourth argument. So the third argument was sinful reactions. Fourth argument was destruction of dynasty and the traditions. So he is now taking it one level higher, that fine, I am going to suffer because I will be killing them, but the problem is my whole dynasty, Kuru dynasty, Pandu's dynasty, all the traditions, the society will be impacted, the women will be impacted, the progeny will be impacted, society welfare projects will be impacted, ancestors will be impacted, and such people who become the cause of the destruction of the dynasty and the traditions, they dwell in the hell for eternal time. So this is his fourth argument, destruction of dynasty. Now, second chapter starts, and Arjun, meaning he is kind of, what do you say? He is crying, if not literally, meaning emotionally. He is very emotional. So, in such a scenario, you expect a friend to become compassionate, put the hand around the shoulders, and then say, okay, okay, beta, don't worry, huh? No problem, don't fight, okay? But Krishna is not that way, right? Krishna is even one level higher, smarter than others. So Krishna purposely brings him to the boiling point. Now he is heated up. It's nice. The tawa has become very hot, but not sufficiently hot to make pulao. So he brings that to another level. So he purposely, stings him. Kutastva kashmalavidam. Where have these impurities come upon you? You are like a eunuch. Somebody like a foolish person, sort of. And then he erupts. Katham Bhishma Maham Sankhe. How can I kill people like Bhishma and Drona who deserve worship from me? Those people whom I should be worshipping with flowers, you are expecting me to throw arrows at them. Although they are greedy, and lobhopat hata chetasaha, they are greedy for some benefit, but I know what is right, what is wrong. I know that they are not supposed to be attacked, let alone be killed. Even if they make a mistake, how can I make a mistake? Now this is until verse 4 and 5 in the second chapter. But then again he realizes, I am confused. I know I am a kshatriya, I am supposed to fight, but I also know that they should not be killed. I also know that they cannot, meaning you cannot avoid the war. And I also know that you cannot have a war without these people being killed. And they cannot kill us, we cannot kill them. The victory will not be anybody's. Na chaitad vidmah kataram no gariyo yadva jayama yadivano jayayu. I do not know what is right, what is wrong. I do not know whether fighting is better or being killed by them is better. And then comes the turning point of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna Arjun surrenders to him, stating, I am confused about my duty. I accept you as my guru. I become your disciple. Please guide me. The turning point. And we also talked about why approaching a guru is necessary to understand spiritual matters. You cannot have material equations like 1 plus 1 is equal to 2 while understanding spiritual matters. You cannot do R&D in spiritual matters to understand. You have to understand the truth from somebody who has seen the truth, which is the guru, who learns this from his guru, and his guru learns from his guru. That way the parampara comes, and I'll not go deeper into the parampara. But this parampara starts from Krishna, and we'll explain when we reach the fourth chapter, the 34th, the third verse. Then, uh, then Krishna starts speaking. Okay, so the 11th verse is where technically Bhagavad Gita starts. Okay, the previous two verses, that is the second and third verse of second chapter, Krishna did speak, but that speech and the 11th verse, they are different in the nature, that Krishna was speaking to Arjun as a friend. Whereas now from 11th verse onwards, Krishna speaks to Arjun as a guru. So that's why the relationship is different, the level is different, of level of instruction is also different. So 11th verse onwards, when he starts speaking until 30th verse, he speaks about the soul, about the characteristics of the soul. If you divide these verses, then specifically until verse number 25, he talks about the characteristics of the soul. And verse number 26 onwards till 30, he speaks about the other side of the soul, meaning assuming that the soul is also destructible, then what happens? He speaks on those lines. And that's why verse number 26 is called as a checkmate verse. Whether you look at it from this option or that option, both ways, Krishna proves his point why Arjun should fight the war. We will not do that today. We will do it in the next class. We'll try to do until verse number 25 today. And then he is talking about the characteristics of the soul and compares that to the characteristics of the body. While comparing with the characteristics of the body, which is verse number 16, I think. Yeah. Yes. So he talks about nasato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sata. We also talked about this verse being a figure of speech called as chiasmus in English, which interchanges words and makes the meaning opposite. So he is talking about the material body. There is no endurance. That means it cannot stand the test of time. It dies off. And the soul, there is no change. That means time has no impact on it. It irrespective of what time it is, whether it is before the time or after the time as a factor, the soul remains constant. There is no change to it. Okay. And this way he compares the indestructible and non-changeable, then existing everywhere, these kind of characteristics of a soul with the relevant characteristics of the body. So we'll just look at very key points. Indestructible, no one is imperishable, and it pervades the entire body. How do you know that you have a soul compared to a person not having a soul? Does anyone not have a soul? Who does not have a soul? क्या हुआ आज एवरीबडी साइलेंट? जीतू प्रभु कुछ बात नहीं कर रहे आप?
नहीं Sachin sir. I think everyone has soul, right? I mean, whoever is living in this earth, everyone is having a soul.
So who does not have a soul in that case? Does a non-living thing have a soul? Non-living thing, yeah, correct. Non-living thing does not have a soul, right? And a dead body, meaning which was living until a certain point of time, but once the soul passes away, it is not a living body. So even the soul doesn't exist there. So let's say in our body, how many souls exist?
It's one soul. I think.
One. Okay. Anybody has any other answer?
Two.
Like, sorry?
Two souls.
Two. Okay. And which are they?
One is the Jivatma, another one is the Paramatma.
Excellent. Excellent answer. Excellent. Thank you. And in addition to this one, is there any other soul in our body? No? Okay. So technically speaking, what Siddharth Prabhu said is 100% perfect. In addition to this one, there are various germs in our body, right? Bacteria. So does this bacteria have a soul?
So they have conscious, right? Something they have.
So that means they have a soul, right?
Technically, yeah.
Yeah, correct. So if they have consciousness, they have a soul. That means.
Hmm.
So the consciousness is a function of the soul. We call it as Chetana.
Yeah.
So Chetana means, like say for example, the function of a cricketer is to play cricket. The function of a vehicle is to run. That way, the function of a soul is consciousness. And that way, it pervades the entire body. So you cannot say my left finger is conscious, but my right toe is not conscious. Right? So the whole body is conscious. And this consciousness is with which the soul pervades the entire body. So otherwise, this line could be a bit misleading. Pervades the entire body. It pervades the entire body, meaning it doesn't mean, let's say, for example, you have a room. So the air is there within the full room. You cannot say in this part air is there and in this part air is not there. Air is there in the full room. So air pervades the entire room. Similarly, the consciousness, via the consciousness, the soul pervades the entire body. You can feel the body in any part. So that is the consciousness aspect of the soul. Okay, which is missing in a dead body. Now Krishna starts answering that aspect of being killed and killing somebody. So why Arjuna's thought process is not fully correct? Arjun thinks that he will be killing the uh, relatives. What Krishna is telling in this verse is the relatives, you may be killing their material body, but if you don't kill the material body is anyway going to die. Uh, but and you can never kill the soul. So you cannot kill the soul. So you are not going to, you cannot consider yourself as the killer of the soul. And you think your soul is killing their soul, that also is not possible because your soul is incapable of killing anybody. So he is saying here, the living entity is not the slayer and it is not slain as well. So it cannot be killed and it cannot kill anybody. And that's why he's saying the people who think that way, that the living entity kills somebody or the living entity is killed by somebody, both are not in knowledge. Okay. Then he talks about the six um, stages of a material body. Yeah. Jayate is to be born, Mriyate is to die. And there are four stages of a body in between: growth, creation of byproducts, dwindling, and that way. It being staying for a certain amount of time. All these six stages the body undergoes, and Krishna is saying, forget the six. Even the first and the last stage is not applicable to the soul. The na jayate na mriyate nayam bhutva bhavita vana bhuya. It cannot be created, nor can it create anything. It is not come into being also. It has been eternally existing. Ajo meaning unborn, nitya meaning consistent, constantly, shashvat meaning permanent, purano meaning eternal. Before the time was born and after the time is dead. Time as a if you personify time, then before time as a object was born and after it is dead, the soul will continue to exist. So we did until verse number 20 last time. So we will start with verse number 21. I'll try to go a bit fast because some of the points I have already covered in the previous verses. I would like to finish until verse 25 today so that we can start with a new logical point from verse 26 next week onwards. Anybody has any question so far, whatever we have done? Any doubt?
I have a
Anything?
question.
Yes, please.
You said a dead body does not have soul, correct?
Yes.
Okay, if that is the case, when a dead body, inside the dead body, after the soul departs, there are thousands of other
Yeah,
organisms inside the dead body,
correct.
okay, making the dead body decay, actually,
Okay, correct.
part of the decaying process.
Yes.
So it means there are other organisms with souls also inside the body, correct?
Yes, correct.
Even
Exactly.
after the Death.
Death, yeah. So what we intend to say here is the body has a particular soul, and within that body there are other organisms which have their own bodies, and their own bodies have their own souls. But if you look at this body as one single unit, there is only one soul. It
Okay.
is so because it shelters other organisms which have their own bodies, they have their own souls also. So, for example, in our house, we are four people staying. So everybody has their own body. But if you look at it, it is one single household. Similarly, that way. Is that okay?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So let's look at text 21. You can unmute yourself and you can chant the verse together. Veda vinashinam nityam
Veda vinashinam nityam.
ya enam ajam avyayam
Ya enam ajam avyayam.
katham
Kathan
sa
sa
katham sa purushah partha
Katham sa purushah partha.
kam ghatayati hantikam.
Kam ghatyati hantikam.
Kam.
Anybody wants to read the translation?
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah, sure.
O Partha, how can a person who knows that the soul is indestructible, eternal, unborn, and immutable kill anyone or cause anyone to kill? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So now he is taking this discussion further. Okay, and he is talking from the person about not the person, the activities of a person towards a soul. Now, if you remember in the first chapter, if I'm not wrong, verse number 35, uh, Arjun had called Krishna with the name called Janardhan. Now, what does Janardhan mean? Jana meaning people. Ardhan has two meanings. In the context that Arjun uses, it means protector, maintainer. So he is calling Krishna as the maintainer of living beings. Okay. And he is using this name sarcastically. He is telling Arjuna that you are the maintainer of everyone. And despite that, indirectly he's telling you are expecting me to act in a manner by which you want me to kill people. Isn't it contradicting that you want me to kill people and still people call you as the maintainer? How can you be a maintainer of somebody when you want to kill that somebody? So Krishna is now countering this one to tell him that the person who is in the knowledge of a soul, who understands the soul, the functions, the characteristics, everything about the soul properly, how can that person kill anybody or cause anybody to kill somebody? Now, who can understand the about the soul better than Krishna? Okay. As of this particular moment, we haven't understood who Krishna is. Okay. So I'll just give you a very brief synopsis. So Bhagavad Gita is considered to be the very, very basic of the spiritual life. It takes you from the basic, but it takes you at a very advanced level also, meaning from a Bhakti Yoga perspective. But if you look at least the second chapter, third, fourth, or even fifth, sixth chapter also, it is basic. Even the seventh chapter, to understand who Krishna is the first step towards the spiritual life. When you understand who Krishna is, who you are, what is your relationship with him, then you are inquisitive about what am I supposed to do now. And then we start walking on the path towards Krishna, which is a kind of a journey in itself. So to understand about Krishna in itself is a ocean in itself. So it's not so simple to understand. And that Krishna, he being the origin of everything, which he confirms in the seventh chapter and subsequently also, being the origin of everything, he is the origin of all the souls also. Now he is the person who can understand about the souls better than anybody. So Krishna is asking Arjun, if I understand about the soul, nobody can understand better than me. How can you think that I would want to kill a soul, or would want anyone to, or would cause anyone to kill a soul? Because the soul is indestructible. The soul is eternal. Soul cannot be killed, unborn, immutable, changeless. So now after having spoken in this manner, does it mean that life is not being valued because the soul is eternal? Or does the immortality of a soul, does it recommend violence? Which is not the case. Yeah. So let's understand a little bit about it. So prior to the start of the war, what did the Pandavas do? And in addition to that, what did Krishna do? Extensive peace efforts by Pandavas, as well as certain Kauravas like Bhishma and Vidur and Dronacharya, and in fact even Krishna also, were attempted. And uh, at that point of time, nobody was using the destructibility of the body, or inevitable destructibility of the body, and indestructibility of the soul. Nobody used this as a license to initiate the war. So it Bhishma Pitamaha is considered to be a Mahajan, one of the 12 peoples who understood the spiritual science directly from the god. Vidur is originally Yamraj. Okay, that's a separate story. I'll not go into it now. But in his previous life, he was Yamraj. Yamraj is like Supreme Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of India. If he does not know what law is, he cannot sit in that position. So because he has to give justice and punishments to people, he has to know what is right, what is wrong. So he is also one of the 12 Mahajans. So Vidur and Bhishma Pitamaha were ocean of knowledge. It is impossible that they did not know these basics of soul and body. Yeah. So if they were sure that soul cannot be killed, they could have also, said, okay, fine, doesn't matter, let's have a war anyway, soul cannot be killed. But they did not do that. They attempted all the efforts for peace, but nothing worked out because of the obstinacy of the great Mr. Duryodhan, and because of which finally the war was unavoidable. Now we have to understand that destruction of the body is inevitable. It cannot be denied. Just because it is some topic which is taboo to discuss doesn't mean the body does not remain destructible. It still is destructible. And also we need to understand that when we talk about the destructibility of a body, we should understand the temporary nature of the body. Once we understand this one, we will understand the permanent nature of the soul. Yeah. And when we understand this, we should understand that we have to rise above the level of the body, go to the level of the soul, and start looking at life from that perspective. Life at the material level is temporary. You can keep lamenting about death, but we cannot change death. We cannot avoid death. Nobody wants to die, but nobody can avoid death. Okay. So that doesn't mean we get the license to inflict pain upon somebody. Ma himsyat sarva bhutani is the aphorism of Vedas. What does it mean? Never commit any violence to any living being. So that means the eternality of a soul does not give any license to cause violence or pain or destruction of other living beings. So killing the body of anybody without authority is not acceptable and is punishable by the government, by the law of the lands, and by the law of the Lord also. Okay, but then there are certain people who are allowed to do it. For example, if a thief comes and he, hits you with a knife in your stomach, the stomach gets cut, right? That we will call as a attempt to kill, yeah, or attempt to murder, and that is punishable. But when an authorized surgeon does the same thing, it is acceptable. When somebody ties a rope around somebody's neck and hangs him, it is considered to be a murder. But when the Supreme Court gives this as a punishment to somebody, it is acceptable. So that means what? It is not the uh, action, it is the intent behind the action that is important. So the action could be killing, but the intent is to give punishment as a matter of administration or to cause purposeful violence to somebody. That is the distinguishing factor. Arjuna's use of violence can be justified because he was performing this war, or taking part in this war as a matter of principle of on religious basis. It was not a whimsical, because Duryodhan wanted this war out of his ego to prove a point to somebody to grab the Pandavas' land, but Pandavas were fighting for the principles. In order, in addition to this one, when we reach to the fourth chapter, you will see that there is one verse, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So Krishna says, in order to establish religion, dharma, religious principles on earth, I protect the pious and I annihilate the impious, sinful miscreants. Okay, and it is his wish that this war should happen and the irreligious people should get destroyed and the religious people should be protected, and a person like Yudhishthir, who is a very religious and authentic person, he should be governing the whole country. That is what he wanted. Okay, so that's about this particular verse. Any question?
I have a question. You want me to ask you now, or
Yeah,
can I
please,
ask you?
yeah, of course, please go ahead.
Just a discussion, not a question, rather.
Yeah.
But see, when Krishna is so powerful, okay,
Hmm.
he is so powerful such that he was able to lift the entire Govardhana Parvata in his little finger,
Correct.
okay,
Correct.
and
Yes.
he was able to kill all the demons in throughout his childhood,
Mm-hmm.
actually. And then when he's all so powerful, why did he have to wait? Why did he have to make Arjuna wage a war against Kauravas to kill them? Actually, he could have done this himself, right? Actually, just the way he killed all the other demons, actually.
Correct. Yeah, yeah. Very valid question. Yeah. So what happens here is we should understand there are multiple aspects to this one. Okay. After the killing of a particular demon, I just forgot the name. Krishna had purposefully said, "Thou, my war is over. I will not pick up a weapon now." Okay, and he knows basically he in the 7th chapter 26th verse he says, Vedaham samatitani vartamanani charjuna bhavishyani cha bhutani mam tu vedana kaschana. I know the past, present and future of all living entities. Okay, so he knows what's going to happen in the future. So when he says that, he knows that there is a war that's going to happen. If he wanted, he could have destroyed anybody and everybody, okay, whomever he wanted, with just the Sudarshan Chakra. I'm not sure if you're aware, but the first war that happened between Jarasandha and Krishna and Balaram, Krishna did not fire a single arrow. He killed all of the people of Jarasandha except Jarasandha himself with just Sudarshan Chakra and the heat of Sudarshan Chakra, not even the killing, not even the piercing of the neck. And Balram asked him, why did he not kill Why did he not kill Jarasandha? So Krishna said that Jarasandha is doing a good service to me. So Balram was surprised. What service? He is saying Jarasandha is now very hurt. He will go and gather all the other asuras and bring them to me to fight with me. So I will get an opportunity to kill all of them again. So I don't need to go hunt around these asuras. Jarasandha is doing a good service to me. I can kill all of them in one single battlefield. That way, 17 times he defeated Jarasandha, but he purposely did not kill him. So what was his objective? His objective was to kill the people and protect them. Now, let's look at this one. His also third objective is to establish principles of religion. Okay. Now, how will principles of religion be established? One is giving good teaching, yeah, to people. But there is still a possibility that people may not understand. Huh? So that's why saintly people come onto earth to elaborate the teaching and give us further practical examples. But despite that, we may still understand but not follow it. That's why administration comes into picture, which enforces the right and wrong on us, the right on us, and ensures wrong is not done. Right? For which person like Yudhishthir has to be established on the throne. Now, after all of these as a background, and another aspect comes into picture, wherein, as he mentioned in the verse 21 of third chapter, Yadyadacharati Shreshtas Tattadeve Tarajanah. Great leaders, whatever they do and set as examples, common men follow. So now, Bhagavad Gita is, this Mahabharata is happening at the end of Dwapar Yuga. Kali Yuga will start. So people like us will look up to the teachings of Mahabharata to decide what is to be done in our life and what is not to be done. Now imagine a scenario wherein our um, our family members, our land is usurped, our women are disrobed, and poison is given to our people, our family members and all that. And despite that, we are behaving righteously and the other person is behaving irreligiously. In such a scenario, if Mahabharat were to set an example to us to say that, okay, you can behave like a coward, okay, don't attack them, don't do anything, tolerate all of this. What would happen if Krishna were to kill all of them? What would we do? We will wait for Krishna to come and we will ask him to kill. Okay. But we will not do it by ourselves. But that is not correct. Krishna or Ram did not teach cowardice to us. They taught us principles of religion, but they did not teach cowardice. They also have taught that tolerance to a certain extent is right, but beyond that, beyond a particular level, you have to fight. So if Krishna were to fight the war on behalf of Pandavas and kill everybody, what will we learn from Pandavas? That they were cowards. They literally could not even protect their wife and children and family. They could not protect their kingdom. Would we consider those people as somebody whom we should look up to? Definitely not. So in the Bhagavad Gita 11th chapter, Krishna mentions to Arjun that I have already killed these people. From my Kala Rupa, the time factor, these people are already killed. And when he shows the Vishwarup, Arjun himself says, Ki I can see Duryodhan getting crushed between the teeth of between your teeth. I can see Karna's body and head stuck in between the gap of your teeth. So he is saying it's already killed. And then he says, Nimitta Matra Bhavasavya Sachin, and get glorifications to yourself. He says, you've just become an instrument of my plan of action. So for us, when we think that technically Krishna has not fought the war, that's not the case. Actually, Krishna is responsible for the death of all of them. It is in the foreground, it is Arjun who is shooting the arrows. But finally, the will of the Lord takes precedence over anything and everything. So the killing of them couldn't have happened without the sanction of the Lord. And when the sanction of the Lord is there, any Tom, Dick, and Harry can achieve the objective. So technically speaking, again, it is Krishna who has ensured this happens. And practically speaking, this is the reason why Krishna ensured it happens via people like Arjun. Hare Krishna.
Sachin Guru, Mahaprabhu, Prabhu, Sachin Prabhu, I have a question. And
Huh.
this question is there in my mind since childhood. And I think this is the right forum to ask you. So, my question is, this,
Can I, sorry, interrupt you? Is
yeah, yeah,
Siddharth
sure.
Prabhu, are you okay with the answer, or you have
Yeah,
any other thought?
I've got I mean, I've got more questions, but I mean, I think if I keep asking questions, it will actually disrupt the class, which I don't want to.
Okay.
We
Okay.
we
So
will
we will
keep
take
park the
this.
questions for another session, actually.
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure. We can do that. Sure. Sorry, Jitu Prabhu, please go ahead.
Okay. So the question is, Bhishma Pitama and people like Bidur, they were so intelligent, they are so knowledgeable,
Hmm.
and they are like one of those 12 knowledgeable persons, right? But and still they support the wrong guys, the wrong peoples to fight. So my question is, I mean, is that okay for us? I mean, we are nothing in front of them, but still with
Right.
the knowledge, little knowledge, is that okay for us also to support the wrong thing and the wrong people, knowing that we are going to do some wrong thing?
No, definitely not. And how we need to view this is, okay, okay, let me give a little bit of background to of Mahabharata. So before Mahabharata happened, okay, um, I'm going to give you in a very concise manner. Um it's too detailed. Complete book of Garga Samhita has been written on this particular topic, so I won't be able to explain to that extent. But Prithvi Mata was quite burdened by the sinful and impious kings who were ruling on the earth prior to Krishna adventing. Okay, so she went up to Brahma and asked him to get rid of these impious kings. So Brahma said it is beyond his capability. And that is when he said, let us go and pray to Vishnu for him to come. So they go to the Kshirsagar and they chant Purusha Sukta at that time, the prayers to invoke Lord Vishnu. Kshirodakshay Vishnu, I'm not sure if you're aware, but there are three Vishnus. So Kshirodakshay Vishnu appears in front of them, and then they ask him to appear and get rid of these kings. Kshirodakshay Vishnu says, this is not my time to come. It is Krishna himself, he has to come down now. So then he said, okay, we will all go to Krishna and we will request him to come down. And then Kshirodakshay Vishnu, along with Brahma, Prithvi Mata, Narad Muni, Ganpati, various Devi Devtas and all that, they go up to Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan. And then they meet Krishna and then they request him and then plead him basically that you please come and get rid of all of this. So he, smiles at that time, which does not indicate whether he will come or he will not come. And at that time, Narad Muni asks him, so will you come or will you not come? So at that
Okay.
time, Krishna waits for a moment, and all the various avatars of Vishnu, like Narsimha, Vaman, and all that, they start coming from various directions and they enter into the body of Krishna. And then people, meaning all assembled people, were surprised to see this. And after that, then Krishna says, yes, I will come down at the right time. And then he assigns a duty to various demigods. And then he says, you have to take birth in the Yadav dynasty, you have to take birth in the Vrishni dynasty, you have to take birth in the Kuru dynasty. At that time, it was decided who will become Dhritarashtra, who will become Duryodhan, who will become whom, that
Okay,
way.
okay, okay,
Okay.
okay.
So Duryodhan is an Amshavatar. There are avatar is incarnations, and there are various types of incarnations. Shakti Avatar, Amshavatar, Purna Avatar, various types of avatar are there. So Amsha is a portion, just a small portion of Kali. The Kali Yuga we call, the Kali is a personification of meaning Kali is a person in himself. Okay.
Okay.
So Duryodhan is an Amshavatar of Kali. So every role was also distributed at that time. Now Bhishma and everybody are also got that particular role to execute. So it can be very well understood that Mahabharata was an organized drama.
Okay.
Okay. Why was it done? Only for people like you and me who are living in Kali Yuga today.
Mm.
And why? Why? because there are certain characteristics of people living in Kali Yuga. We have a short life, we have a bad memory, we have bad knowledge, bad intelligence, quarrelsome attitude, yeah, always distressed and all that. In such a scenario, approach towards spiritual matters is very low probability. And because of this one, the spiritual growth is very low. Now, such people, if the theory that is explained in Vedas, if we have to sit and understand that, one life will not be sufficient. So what will happen? We will give up. So the best way to teach such people is via a drama. So that's why people like us understand a picture which speaks 1,000 words, right? If somebody gives us a paragraph written about a picture, we will prefer to see the picture and not read the paragraph.
Exactly.
So we have inclination to learn via stories, not theory. So that's why Mahabharat was done as a drama to teach the ordinary people in Kali Yuga how to lead life and how not to lead life, how to lead life and why not to lead life in a certain manner.
Okay.
Okay, now this is the background.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if Bhishma, okay, and let's say add Dronacharya also in this one.
Mm-hmm.
If they were to fight on the side of Pandavas, what would happen? Okay, let's look at let's analyze the armies of both of them. Pandavas had some great warriors like Bhim and Arjun,
Mm-hmm.
and Kauravas had Bhishma, Drona, Kripacharya, and Karna. Okay, now because of the strength of these four people, Duryodhan thought that who can defeat us? Okay, so he thought that because people like Bhishma and Drona are with us, and because nobody can, Pandavas cannot defeat us, let's go ahead for the war.
Okay.
Had Bhishma and Drona changed sides and gone to Pandavas, what would happen? Duryodhan may have decided not to fight. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because he would know that it is impossible to defeat Bhishma, it is impossible to defeat Drona. And that we
Mm-hmm.
saw as a war also. So that then what would happen? The killing, the annihilation of the miscreants, which was one of the objectives of Krishna's descent, incarnation, and establishing religious principles and creating a lesson for people in Kali Yuga would not be possible. So that's why it was important for people like Bhishma and Drona to continue on the side of Kauravas, so that Duryodhan gets that false sense of strength, and because of which he continues to perform all the nonsense activities and challenge Pandavas finally in the war and get defeated and killed.
Okay. Okay.
So this is like the complete background to it. It's far, far detailed than what I have told. I could
Mm-hmm.
not do justice. Garga Muni probably will slap me if he comes to me. I have not done justice to him. But
No, that's a nice explanation. I really appreciate. Thank you so much, Sachin. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So I'll
Hare
do
Krishna.
just one more verse if you don't mind. Was attempting to do five, but at least two we will do today, if you don't mind. Yeah. Is it okay? No problem, right? We'll do
Yeah,
one.
sure.
Yeah. Text 22. This is one of the very famous verses of Bhagavad Gita. Many people know it. So let's chant this. Vasam sijirnani yatha vihaya
Vasamsi jirnani
Samsi
yatha
jirnani
vihaya
yatha vihaya
navani grunhati naroparani
navani grihati
navani grinhati
naropara
naroparani
Rupani
तथा शरीराणि विहाय जीर्णानि
तथा शरीराणि विहाय
Vihaya
जीर्णानि
अन्यानि संयाति नवानि देहि.
Anyani
anyani
अन्यानि
samyati
sanyati
संयाति
navani
navani
dehi.
नवानि देहि.
Thank you. Anybody can chant, read the translation.
Hare Krishna. As a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, the soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and the useless ones.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, how many of you had already heard of this verse before? Anybody?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. So this is one nice poetic verse, you see every word is ending with I. Vasamsi, Jirnani, Navani, Grinati, Aparani, Jirnani, Sharirani. So nice poetic verse. It is quite famous. What does it say basically? That we wear new garments every day. The old clothes go for washing, the new clothes we wear. After a certain amount of time, the old clothes become old, and because of wear and tear and all that, we decide to give up the clothes. We stop wearing them. We buy new clothes. We start wearing them, right? So what is the relevance of this action in this example? What do you think? Why is Krishna giving this as an example? If Krishna has spoken this, definitely it's not meaningless, right? It has to have deep meaning. So why do you think Krishna is speaking this? Anybody? No? So when we give up old clothes, do we cry? Let's say you have been wearing a shirt for, let's say, 5 years, or a trouser for, say, 7 years. When you give it, when you throw it away, do you cry? Oh, my trouser, this trouser, and all that? No, we don't. Do
No.
we have attachments to the trouser? Maybe yes, to a certain extent. Maybe your wife may have gifted, or you might have, bought with your first salary. So some emotions may be there. But let's say will you continue wearing that for 25, 30, 40, 55 years? Definitely not. So at a certain point of time, you will say enough is enough. This is too old now. It is torn from different places. I cannot wear it. So when you give up the old garments, you actually do not have any attachment towards it. So what Krishna is saying is, the way we give up the old garments, similarly, a soul gives up the body when it becomes old, when it becomes useless. And the soul takes up a new body. Look, let's take the example of a cloth. You can wear a trouser for, say, 70 years. Yeah, however, whichever condition it is, you will say, okay, fine, I am okay. uh, Even if my trouser is torn from 10 different areas and almost whole of my legs are visible, but still I will wear it. Fine, you can do that. But if Krishna also allows the soul to remain in a body for hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years, imagine what will happen. Yeah? At, at this current age itself, we find it difficult to walk for 20, 30 kilometers. When we become 70 or 80 or 90, we may not be able to walk even 20, 30 meters. And 100 years later, we will be completely bedridden. We will have each and every type of disease in our body. Imagine a person who has made an accident on the road and his limbs were cut off from the body. He does not have hands, he does not have legs. A person who cannot see, a person who cannot speak, a person who is deaf, if that person remains in the body for hundreds of years, will that person like? If a person is having cancer and all over the body full cancer has been, mutated, will that body, or will that soul like to live in such a body? Definitely not. So at the right time, when the body becomes useless, the soul has to exit. And in such a scenario, when we understand that it is right for the soul to exit the body, what is the need for crying over it? So change of a body is inevitable. And change of a body, when that happens, we need to have the same feelings as we have the feelings for change of garments. And why is Krishna telling this to Arjun specifically? Because Krishna is saying that your refusal to fight in the war cannot protect Bhishma or Dronacharya or anyone else, because their bodies will get destroyed. He is saying, Arjuna is saying that they will lose their body if they die. Krishna is saying that they will get another body, a new one, which is even better than the current body. So the dress example, the metaphor which is used here is defined or is expressed here not as some kind of a miserable termination of life, but it is mentioned as a welcome transition, which means we have an ability to keep crying about the loss, but we do not have the vision to look at that which is coming in a positive manner. We do not see that the same soul or to which we had loved for years and years and decades will now get a new body, which is something to rejoice about. Instead, we are saying that we lost that person. So we are calculating our loss and not the other person's profit. And factors we need to understand. So the dress is external to the person, which means we don't say we are the dress. This is my dress, we say. So me and my dress are different. Okay. So when we take a bath and change clothes, the person remains same, the dress changes. It also means that dress is changeable, the person is not changeable. Similarly, the soul is not changeable, body is changeable. And you cannot live with the same dress forever. It is essential to change the dress as it grows old. You cannot wear the same dress lifelong. So just like we do not lament for the change in dress, we should not lament for the change in body. Okay, so this metaphor helps us understand the process and it minimizes the shock of death. Yeah, we always uh, dislike talking about death. But why it is important to learn about death, we understand from second chapter, and you will understand far importantly in the 8th chapter. When we will come to it, you will know. So that's why this example helps us view death in a positive manner. We should look at it as a transition. So the current body was for some reasons useless, and it's better we give that up and accept a new body. At that time, we can say basically that the death is better. And yeah, I think that's all we speak about this verse. There are certain points we need to understand, which are a bit technical, but it just adds to what Siddharth Prabhu was talking. Um, so let's read this verse. Samane vriksho purusho nimagno nishaya shochati muhyamanah jushtam yada pashyati anyamisham asya mahimanam iti vitta shokaha. Although the two birds are in the same tree, the eating bird is fully engrossed with anxiety and moroseness as the enjoyer of the fruits of trees. Okay. What does it mean? It talks about Atma and Paramatma. So the Atma is there as one of the bird, Paramatma is there as the another bird. The eating bird is the Atma, which is fully engrossed with anxiety and moroseness. It continues to perform karma and it is anxious about the result. It is morose about that which it doesn't want to happen, but it is going to happen. And he is enjoying the fruits of the tree. And the Paramatma is just the overseer. He is just observing this bird and he permits the actions also. So what he is saying, if in some or the other way he turns his praise to his friend, the Lord, and knows his glory, at once the suffering bird becomes free from all anxieties. So we have ignored the presence and the existence of the Lord around us. So it says we just need to turn our face to the Lord, and we will become free from all anxieties. Okay? So we'll stop here. This particular verse number 23, also is one very, very famous verse of Bhagavad Gita. We will look at it in the next week. Anybody has any question? Good, bad, ugly, doesn't matter.
I'm sorry, I think I asked you questions and actually disrupted the class. You wanted to finish 25, if I'm not wrong, right, today?
Yeah, that's okay. Perfectly fine. It's okay. There is no kind of syllabus that we have to complete. It's a kind of an ongoing one. We will do these verses next time. It's very important that these questions do get answered at the right time, so that these doubts get clarified and progressively we can understand very well. So perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. Mm. And please keep coming. We miss you. We would like to, have your active presence. And thanks for joining in. Anybody has any other question? Jijit Prabhu, Manju Mataji, Deepak Prabhu, Jitu Prabhu.
No, nothing from my end.
Was this a heavy concept today, or was it better? It simplified a few things.
It was simpler than the previous class.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
every day is heavy as we progress.
Actually, these are the most simplest and most basic topics of Bhagavad Gita. So we will have far more difficult than these ones. Anyway, we
Prabhu,
will.
one thing I wanted to ask,
Yeah, yeah.
because it got me thinking when you mentioned, of course, Bhagavan Krishna, I mean, he has his own ways of showing us the way, just like how he did with Mahabharata. So I guess we are going to expect another organized drama for end of Kali Yuga, right?
That's actually a huge topic in itself.
Yeah.
Bhavishya Puran and Srimad Bhagavatam talks a lot about it. But actually, Kalki is the avatar is just meant for annihilation, the killing of nonsense people. So Krishna is, that's why it is called as avatari, whereas all others are called as avatar. So Krishna
Okay.
descended himself, whereas other avatars came for a specific function. Yeah, Narsimha Dev came only to kill Hiranyakashipu. He gave very less upadesh at that time.
Right.
Yeah, Ram came for some specific purpose. Krishna had a far, far wider purpose. Okay. Hare
Okay.
Krishna. Thank you all for joining. Let us meet
Thank
next
you.
week.
Hare
Hare Krishna,
Krishna.
Prabhu.
Hare
Thank you
Hare
so
Krishna.
much.
Krishna. Thank you.
Hare
Thank you so
Krishna.
much.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.